Hey everybody, what's going on? So, I'm coming back with a new video. This is chess this time. So, I know if you play chess, a lot of you probably have encountered what's called the London system. And I probably don't really show it since it's going to come out in the game, but it goes like, after the queen's pawn opening in the standard game, or pretty much, it can be played against anything, but they're going to move their bishop out and make the pyramid, as you'll see. And this system opening is used a lot by beginners because it's very, I think they like it because it's very easy and automatic to play, but it can frustrate a lot of people because it's hard to find a good way to play against it that's not boring for black. It becomes so like monotonous, and a lot of beginners fumble around and they don't know how to play against it either. I know a lot of people, they don't know like maybe one of the optimal ways to play it and get a good fighting game. But this is all going to change with this video. I'm going to show you how to completely it's not like it'll just stop their plans. It's very, I think this opening that you can use to counter it is very good. I have created it myself. It's kind of a variation of the Dutch defense, which I have worked on for a while, and then I made it when it was about like 1300. I think I'm about 1560 now, but I haven't played in a while, so probably couldn't do good in a game, but I guess I'll have to practice again. But I just wanted to show it. I think that's enough explanation, so let's get right into it. So first thing you're going to do to play this is against London is to just play the Dutch F5, and you might say, well, what if they don't play the London? Well, you can play it a different way, and then I'll show that like against a regular queen's pawn in a different video, like the classical version. But you're gonna have to play this against queen's pawn. You can play it against the ready, the English. You can play it against the king's fianchetto. Play it against a lot of stuff that's not king's pawn. You can play it against a lot of stuff. That's why I like it. But anyway, so London is like this. They're gonna develop the bishop probably quickly like this to prepare for London. So you're always going to play this first, develop your knights. Pretty simple development. So that's nothing out of the ordinary. They're going to make the pyramid, one of the pawns, whatever. So this is the first part of the opening. Now what you need to do is the classical isn't really going to work here, because I'll explain later, but I tried it before, I got beat. It's going to take too long to explain. But you want to get this bishop in the house. You're going to prepare fianchetto it. That's what I like to call it. I have my own words for stuff, but anyway, they're going to develop knights or make the pyramid or whatever. So you're going to put them in the house, and this is basically what you're going to do. You're going to finish the bishop and prepare the castle, and they're going to do that. That's what they're going to try and prepare the push, but now they can't really do it, otherwise they'll lose a pawn. So just keep an eye out for that. If they can get to do the push. Remember, if you know what the London is, they're going to aim for this e4 pawn break later, preparing the pressure. That's what they usually do. But notice that we have an f pawn also controlling the center. So what do you think we're going to do later? Well, I guess you can probably figure it out later, but this opening, yeah, see, they make the pyramid. That's another thing. So this opening has a lot to do with center control. Now, you're going to see Stockfish says that's an inaccurate move, but it's stupid because it knows nothing. Like, you're going to say, oh, I'm not going to play this because it has plus 0.1. But that's dumb, because like, the only time you're going to refute this is like if you're like a grandmaster or like a 2,400 player. Like, I know the engine line says like something and break with the pawns, what here, whatever, but even if they do that, I'll explain, like, it's really hard to like get what the computer says. It's kind of misleading here, because what you've done is you've stopped them from doing the pawn break. If they try and do that and they put the bishop here, you can just take with the f pawn and fork them and you'll win. And I've got a lot of games where people just like they'll go and they'll put the bishop d3, then they'll play, well, I'll show you. They'll, but let's just say I did a different move than that, and I didn't put the knight there so they could play it. But this is also a good move. So I can play that, it doesn't matter what it does. So a lot of people, they'll just play e4 anyway, but that's a terrible blunder because then they're going to get forked and they lose the game. You see, it stops them from pushing the pawns. They can't do it anymore. No matter how hard they try, they'll always blunder a piece or something because they'll get forked. See, it's always important. It's really easy to remember that, right? So they cannot do the London ordinary plan. And a lot of people will say, what am I going to do if I can't do the plan? And they won't know what to do because all they've done is sort of loaded update theory and they don't know anything about middle games or end games. That's the problem with London, is because you become a robot and you play the same moves, and this will stop it completely. Like, they can't play it anymore. They have to improvise, which most of them I haven't seen do very well. Unless you're Eric Rosen, then I'm going to get, like, beat really bad, but I don't think I'll run into him anytime soon. So, like, that was not what I played, but, like, another way you can do it is what I played, is this, and this will, they can't do it anyway because they'll hit the knight, but you can also see if this knight takes it, they're going to get forked again, and if the bishop takes it, you'll make the pawn chain, like, I think it's better to take with this one because you're going to open up your rook. That's what I usually do, always with the F pawn to open up that rook. Yeah. So they played the queen. I don't really know what that does because they think they can still do it, but this thing isn't going to move, so they can't move that long. So good idea to develop your knight since you kind of blocked in that bishop. We don't want to. Don't worry about this one. You'll never. You usually won't get out till way later. Like, so there's. They just castle, that's normal. So there's two ways you can go about this. You can reinforce the center. This is a great move. I do this from time to time. But there's two ways you can kind of play. You can go and aim for the e5 pawn break by moving the rook up around here, like what I did, and do this. This works a lot of times when they pile up on the center. You want to open up that center. Otherwise, other times you can just keep it closed and move like this. But then your center's going to get locked up and it'll be really drawish. So sometimes it's better to aim for the pawn break. But we'll do that later. But another thing you need to do is just make the Aztec pyramid. Try and put all these pawns on light squares. You can even put this one on light squares. Now your bishop's gonna suck, but the pawn pyramid is it's much better than theirs. It's kind of indestructible. You can see how most of their pawns are being put on dark squares, while our pawns are kind of being put on light squares, and that's kind of fun to look at. Anyway, so just a thing to keep in mind, if they try and play c4, you can just ignore them. You can just ignore them because your pawn's wall is so solid. If they take it, like let's say they played it, right? And then you just ignore them and play something else, like rook here, and then they take it. You can just take it like this, and your pawns get all good. You know, like they, although you can't break in the center anymore, the pawns still look good. I mean, they look good. You got the center, and you know, it'll just be a game. You're gonna have to reinforce the center and hope that this bishop will get out in 5 billion years. But I think it's pretty good. You know, just if they do the pawn thing like this, you can just keep ignoring it for as long as possible. Just wait till they take. So they didn't do that though. Let's go back. Where were we? We went here, and they moved the queen. So we already explained I'm developing 9, they castled, and this we already did that. Alright. Now this, he played a move that was really weird. Like, oh, by the way, I'm playing this was a guest game on my chess, but I just uploaded it to chess.com for analysis since it's kind of better. But he played a really weird move. Like, this is really weird. I don't know why he played that move. It's kind of like a waste of a move. So I'm preparing the pawn break right here by moving the rook. As you can see, it's gonna come soon enough. So he moves the rook, but as you can see, he can't really open this file because I got the knight in the way. He can't push that pawn. So, you know, I'm gonna do my pawn break. So, now I'm pretty sure this resulted in him losing a pawn, but I may be like kind of miscounting stuff, because let's see, he's got 4 over here and then 3, that's 7, and we got 7. Okay, never mind. I thought my material count was, I think it's even, right? It's even, yeah. Well, whatever, never mind. It's even. So he trades again. We're gonna open up that file, but it's not there, but we can use it later. Also, we can move the bishop to make another pawn or whatever, but it's still kind of blocked in, you know, but at least we got more room for this bishop to move later, maybe. So after we take back, he's gonna strike, and now this is different because our king is exposed, right? And we don't want to take that because it's gonna open up his queen or his horse or whatever. Both of that's gonna be bad for us because it's gonna destabilize the beautiful pawn chain. Remember, if we take and trade, and even if we get it safe, which is probably not likely, let's say he comes and takes with queen or whatever, you can see that the king is gonna move or the bishop comes, but whatever we do, you know, it's gonna be bad. See, if we don't do that, it's bad. You know, he's gonna like try to get this pawn. You can even take it with a knight, and it's gonna be real bad. We're gonna die because we got an isolated pawn. See, the pawn chain is so solid you can just reinforce it and ignore it. So what we do is just reinforce it, and we can just keep it like this forever. I'd probably take with the, maybe with the pawn or the bishop. Either of those two would probably still be good. Maybe the pawn to keep the thing, but I'm not sure either way. But he didn't take it yet, so he just developing the rook, I guess, from that awful square. Now, this gets into the, okay, so the opening was probably over once we played the knights and the pawn pyramid and whatever, and we've been in the middle game for a few moves, like 5 or so. So this is where you gotta come up with your own ideas from the middle game. And what I like to do is, once all the opening crap stuff away, you can go, and we got this rook in this good position. Even if it wasn't, you can just like try and, if you can, try and rook lift later, but you don't need to do it right away. But sometimes you can get the queen over here, or like very rarely, but not in this case since we got a bunch of pawns blocking. But you can see, if you know sacrifices, you'll see this h3 pawn, right? He played h3, right? And we got the rook over here ready to come in. But what you want to know is the queen bishop battery can open up the king and sacrifice here. He plays takes and then moves his knight over here. Now, why this is so bad is because you were gonna sacrifice on h3, but if you don't know the sacrifice, you may be thinking you're crazy, you're like an idiot, like why would you do that? But you can see that, just think that now the pawn has to take, no pieces can take. You'll see that it'll open up the king once the queen comes in and takes, that this rook can later come and check the king, but not now. Because once we take with the pawn here, you can see we cover all the king squares. And once the next move was going to be rook here, and that's going to lead to checkmate really fast if he doesn't do anything. And actually the only way to stop this is either get up the queen right away, or you're gonna have to play the best move, which is to sacrifice a whole rook, and he's down a whole rook for nothing, and his king's exposed, and he's still gonna have to deal with that right there. So you can easily see that this is easily winning right here, because I bet if you're a good player and you're up a rook, I mean, there's no way you're going to lose this game unless it's like bullet or something. I mean, this is totally winning. You can just trade off the queens and just get down and win an end game. You know, that's why it's important to learn the middle game and end games, of course. But you probably already know a lot of stuff. So the rest of the game is really important. He tries to pin and take the rook, so we got to go back and defend it somehow. Either way is fine, doesn't matter. Just it's still pinned, so we can't take that. So we got to defend it again. And he trades. So we want to trade his queens. He trades, big mistake. So now he's got 4 pawns. We got a pawn. So we're an exchange and a pawn up. So we're up 3 points. It requires some precise conversions. Just get that king in the game. Gotta be careful we're not forked though. But You know, I don't know. This was actually a blitz game, so I was kind of running out of time. Well, I was getting a little low on time, so I was moving a lot of pawns, just trading some pawns, reinforcing some stuff, moving that king, just going after some pawns, just trying to trade some pawns. He doesn't want me to go over there. He doesn't want me to do that. He's defended really well in the end game, actually, but he'll eventually lose because there's not a lot he can do after the king comes here, because after knight to f3 check, his knight has to leave, and he can only go there. Those are only safe squares. Once the knight leaves, or the king comes back, you know, this pawn's gonna fall, and then we can make a pass pawn and win the game. So he resigned right here because he gonna get dead. And anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video on this little introduction into my Dutch defense way to counter the London system. This opening is, once you get that, just all you need to remember the opening part is if they play the London against the Dutch, just move your knight out like normal. They play the London, so you're gonna remember g6 to feint shadow the bishop. They're gonna continue the London maneuvers, you know, the knight here, and then you're gonna castle. Pretty simple, kind of like King's Indian, but whatever. You just do that, and then once the pawn break becomes more possible, just remember d5 because it'll stop it. And if they ever play c4, just defend it with c6 probably or something. Just don't take. But anyway, played a weird move. h3 doesn't do much. Anyway, yeah, make the pyramid if you want to. You know, like I said, light square pyramid. You can do these, and if they do that, you would also like to put the knight in here. That's one of the middle game ideas, is put the knight in e4. If they take it, fork him with pretty easy, right? If they move that before, if they could move this pawn, you can fork him too. Just remember the fork, because some people, they just won't see it and they'll go on autopilot, maybe a pre-mover or something. So now they can't push and they cannot open the center in their way they want. So after this, you're going to develop your knight. Bishop, we don't really care about him. Develop the knight. No, at least not now. So develop the knight to d7, maybe come to f6 later, or support the e5 break. So yeah, get the pyramid. If they do nothing, just support e5 here. And once it becomes possible, this piece exchange will favor black because they get rid of their bishop, which they like a lot, and you can see that we have better center control than white, and we have more development that's more active. So you can trade again. We're gonna open up the file in for the bishop. Always take with the f pawn, like 99%. If they take here, take with the f pawn. It's just a good way to do it. Just do it that way. Remember with c4, we don't want that queen to check us, so you know. But that's basically not what you need to remember. Just remember the, I guess the e5 middle game stuff is, I guess for the middle game is, if you want to look at that, you can do that as well. But the opening is pretty much goes like this, like the development we already said, d5, and making the pyramid, put the knight in e4, but make sure to do d5 before they can do the break, because then you'll be in a bad position. Make sure you get these pawns here before they get all this stuff developed. So that's why I did it a little bit, you know, at that point. So then after they castle, you can develop the knight, and they'll castle, and that's like the opening stage. And you have some options you can play for, like this will close it down more because you can't break without the knight support. But it'll be more solid, and you might get a more drawish game. But I like to play with the e5 pawn break idea, and they can't do theirs. So this is a really good opening to play as a London system. Although it'll take a few tries to get it right. You know, you can always come back and look over this video and ask me questions in the comments. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. And my chess.com beer of a pie. same as the YouTube channel. You can request me and message me any questions or how you like to play it or something, because I'll always be happy to answer your questions. I think for me, if you just realize the the pawn structure and stuff, for me this is pretty simple to learn once you get it down. You might have to play a few games, but once you stop them, they won't know what to do. And if you're good at middle games and attacking opponent's king, if you're a good attacking player and you can get the pawn breaks and the bishop out like I did during the middle game I explained before, like if you're a good attacking player and you can do like rook lifts or whatever, you'll love this opening, because once the position opens up, once you open it up, you can bring your pieces to life and attack their king. And they can't really do it to you. I mean, they could, but I mean, it's much easier, in my opinion, it's much easier for you to get an attack on their king. Like, I've won many games with this Dutch defense against London. I've got like a 80%, 85, 88% win rate, I think, last I checked. I think it was like 88% against London. And like only 12% were like, more like 10% was the losses, and the rest were like 2% draws. Like, but like, if you get to a higher level, they won't do anything bad or allow sacrifices. There's an end game in this that I'll go over in another video if they do everything correctly. But I probably talked too long in this video, so I'll just I guess I'll just end it here, and maybe if you guys want another video explaining some other parts of the opening, like maybe the end games or against the regular queen's pawn, I can explain more of the Dutch defense, because this is my favorite opening to play in all of chess. Like, because it is like, this doesn't seem very aggressive like at the start, but in the regular queen's pawn game, if they play like the c4, it can become really wild. And even in this game, you can kind of attack them. But this is probably my favorite attacking opening. I like to play against the regular queen's pawn opening in the Dutch, because it's more fun. I guess more stuff happens. But this is fun too, because you can get a great position, like I see here. And just ignore this right here, because your opponent is not an engine or a grandmaster. You have thwarted their plans, and they will not know what to do in the middle game. So I would really recommend giving this a shot if you struggle against the London or the queen's pawn in general. If you want an aggressive new opening to try, just try the Dutch and see how it goes. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.